And now here, poor Mr. He's thinking, is that it? Is that all I have to do? There's got to be a catch. So he says, okay, what else do I have to do? And God says, well, there is one thing you need to do. All males need to be circumcised. By the way, if you're a male, close your ears because it's very painful even hearing about this. Circumcision is basically you take the male's genitalia and you cut the skin off of it. So God says all males need to be circumcised. Did you understand? God, I don't want to explain it too many more times. Because it's very painful just explaining it. Okay? So all males need to be circumcised. This is to show the bond between God and you. Okay? Now, what's interesting is, remember, this is going to survive till today. Christians, Muslims, and Jews still practice this. This is slowly changing in Christianity now, but it's still practiced. I think it might even be practiced in Japan. So, there you are. Abram's sitting there and he's thinking about this deal. Rhea, what do you do? Would you take it? Would you take the deal? Would you say, yes, God, I agree? Maybe. So, now, Abram is a very nice man, and he's a little worried, because remember, he has 2 sons. God is talking about Isaac getting all of this. Well, what about poor Ishmael? What's going to happen to Ishmael? So he goes, so God, does all of this promise include Ishmael too? And God says no. Now why do you think God would say no to you?
Good.
Unison.
God likes the same, some from the same species.
He wants the same ethnic group. He wants this deal to be with the same ethnic group, right? Sarah and Abram are from the same ethnic group. Today we call that ethnic group Hebrew, right? So God wants to make this deal with the Hebrews. Even today, because of this deal, Hebrews refer to themselves as the chosen people. God chose them to have this relationship. Okay? So God chooses the people and says, no, Ishmael can't, because he's only half. And Abram goes, I really love him. Like, is there something you can do? And God says, oh, I'm not too bad. What I can do is I can make sure that he's also successful, but not as successful. So his descendants, Ishmael's, they'll be numerous, but there won't be that many. So he'll be successful, but not as successful as your son, Isaac. Isaac will get kings. Ishmael will get 12 who? 12 princes. It's Prince, the artist. Okay, so Ishmael will not get kings, he will get 12 princes. So you can see there's a difference already, right? Isaac is getting lots more, and he's getting king. Ishmael, yes, he's being successful, but not as successful, and only 12 princes. And Ishmael's descendants will become one nation. So while he will have numerous nations, Ishmael will have one. Now Abram thinks, hey, this is not a bad deal. All I have to do is change my name, change my wife's name, have another son, name him Isaac, get circumcised, and I get all of this. Pretty good deal. So he says, okay, God, you have a deal. Let's make the covenant. So they make the covenant. Now remember, he needs to go down into Canaan. So he moves from Haran down to Canaan. When Abram is 100 and Sarai is 90, they give birth to Isaac. So 100-year-old man, a 90-year-old lady, they have a spanking new baby boy. And they name him Isaac. Now, as Isaac starts to grow, he starts to play with his older brother Ishmael. Now, depending on the sources, there is tension between Sarai and Hagar. Hagar is upset because with the birth of Isaac, Ishmael no longer gets to be head of the clan. Right? Because he's 100% Hebrew, he's only 50, so he can no longer lead that people. Sort of like this disinheritance. The father is now going to have only Isaac. Some sources say that's not the way it was, but rather Sarah was jealous of Ishmael, because Ishmael had developed a very close relationship with Abram. It doesn't matter which way it was, because the result was going to be the same. Sarah approaches Abraham and says, I don't want Ishmael and Hagar here anymore. Send them away. Send them into the desert. I don't want to see them. Now, Abram, of course, he's actually a very nice man. He loves his son, doesn't want to do this. So he's out walking around trying to figure out what can he do. He loves both his wife and the son, and his second wife and that son. What can he do? Lo and behold, God comes to talk to him to solve the problem. And he says, listen to Sarah. Expel them. Get rid of them. Throw them into the desert. And Abram goes, but they'll probably die. And God says, don't worry, I will look after them. So Abram returns to his camp, gives them water and food, and sends Hagar and Ishmael out into the desert. There, Hagar and Ishmael walk around a lot, trying to stay alive. Eventually, Ishmael becomes very weak. And he is almost dead. And the mother is stroking his hair, and she's trying to determine if she should kill him or not. Be merciful. And she talks to God, and she says, oh, please help me make a decision. Please help me. And God appears and says, don't worry, I will save Ishmael. And suddenly, water comes out of a rock, and Ishmael is saved. and he provides them. Now this all comes because Hagar does something that we call submitting. In other words, she says, please, under your power, protect me. Right? She is submitting to God, letting God control her life. Right? God is the powerful thing. Ishmael will continue to grow. He gets a wife in Egypt. And he settles in what we call today Saudi Arabia. His descendants are going to be the ones to create Islam. Their relationship with God is one called submitting, which means you submit to what God says, you do. Okay? Because of this story. On the other hand, Isaac, who has a covenant with God, an agreement with God, is going to have a very different relationship. Right? Just think, Ishmael's is one where you are here, God is here. God is the parent. He tells you what to do, you do it. Here, in a covenant, agreement, you're more equal. You do this, God will do this for you. You don't do this, God won't do this. So, they sort of have a partnership with God. And of course, we know Isaac's descendants are going to become who? Judaism. They are going to start Judaism. So you have the two religions, they come from the same story, but because of this story, they have a different relationship with God. One is of the covenant or partnership. The other one is submitting. Right? Okay. That's his story.